There's been some big wins in the culture war this year. It's been just up and up and up. I'm doing better than ever before with my comic books. Of course, we have Eric July with his 3.5 million on ISOM #1. And we've had a couple big wins this week also. Now, this is despite the fact that the media has made it so that we don't get any attention. They try to squeeze us out. They try to say that we're not allowed to be talked about. Our comics aren't allowed to be talked about. Our books aren't allowed to be talked about. Our commentary is not allowed to be talked about. We saw that Comic Book Resources refuses to talk about anything that says Comicsgate, at least even adjacent to it with Eric July. We saw that the Dice Tower is willing to ban me from their convention because I make conservative commentary on YouTube. This is the type of shutting out of culture that they're trying to push on us, but they're not winning all the way around. Part of the embargo is breaking, and of course, our platforms are getting bigger, which is only giving us more power and authority in the culture war here, which I'm going to get to in just a second. If you're new to the channel, my friends, my name is John Delarose. I'm a #1 best-selling author and award-winning comic creator. This is Overmind, and it is a 66-page science fiction graphic novel. Lots of fun. If you love the old Flash Gordon, Star Wars, you're going to really enjoy this. So click the description below. It's a backer kit. It is my post-Kickstarter pre-order, and digital comics go out right away, and we'll be printing the actual books very shortly here, and we'll be getting those out to you probably starting at the end of September here. So good stuff. Thank you so much, everybody who's supported so far. This is getting real close to $40,000 in sales, which is absurd for a comic for me. I've never hit anything like this before, and I appreciate that big of a win. This is 2022. It's one of our wins right now. I just want to go over a couple wins before we get to the embargo being broken, which is a big, big story. And I think I'll be the only person who's covering this on the internet, like usual, because I find this stuff. I don't just report other people's articles a lot of the time. Sometimes I do. But I actually find stuff, and I make the news. I also write for Bounding Into Comics and write a lot of the news there that gets read by a lot of the cultural commentators, like the Quartering, Eric July, and all that. I appreciate when they share my articles and things like that. But here it is. I actually hit 8,000 subscribers yesterday. And so we did a big stream with this with our audience. We had a lot of fun. This has been a huge, huge uptick. We hit 5,000 this year. And so it's just been like a rocket ship going off. People have really been responding to our content, and I really appreciate you guys for being there. Without you, we can't do this. So it's been going faster. It's been going better. Things have been going up. And that's not it. On a bigger scale, of course, we have Eric July hitting 500,000 subscribers. Congratulations to Rippa. Absolutely huge accomplishment right there. Your platform is just growing amazingly, and it's because of the great work that you do also. So people are seeing this. People are starved for the truth. People are starved for good entertainment is what it's coming down to. And it's starting to be seen in the media. And so this is the next level of what's going on, my friends. So, of course, CBR said they wouldn't cover Rippa and all that. We saw that. We saw Bleeding Cool make fun of them. Bleeding Cool actually was kind of the start of this media embargo upon right-leaning comics, whatever you want, non-woke comics, whatever you want to call it. You can call your movement whatever you like. But Bleeding Cool is really where that epicenter started. And back in I believe it was 2018, it might have been 2017, Bleeding Cool ran a interview with Vox Day. And Vox Day was starting his crowdfunding at the time. It was one of the biggest crowdfunds ever at the time, $250,000 for his alt hero. It really shook things up. People were scared because of this in the mainstream industry. And that led to, of course, Jawbreakers from Diversity in Comics being made, and then, of course, Cyberfrog from Ethan Van Sciver being made, and those hitting bigger and bigger benchmarks the entire way, which is kind of that domino that, of course, then ended up with Rippa this year. Well, Bleeding Cool decided to actually interview Vox Day. And, of course, Rich Johnson from Bleeding Cool wrote a little snarky thing up front about, how bad he is. But he did run the interview. And you could read Vox Day's own words about what he was doing, building a brand of comics and building a infrastructure of comics to be a publisher, because he comes from publishing science fiction and political commentary and doing something different than been out there before. This led to Arkhaven.com. Now, Arkhaven.com is like a webtoon. So webtoon's a thing that a lot of kids use. They scroll on their phones and read comics for free. So he's using this with kind of back issues and things like that. I have my comics on that website. Chuck Dixon has his comics on that website. And Stone Toss has his comics on that website. And you can scroll through it. You kind of learn who it is. You kind of learn what you like in advance. You can see that you'd like my comics, and then you go buy my comics. So it's a super helpful tool. It's got 8.5 million views so far. Good stuff. Well, Vox was, of course, giving his interview back then, and the mainstream media went nuts. They said, "How dare you, Rich Johnson, platform this guy? Alt-right!" Like they always do, right? And so Rich Johnson was actually bullied and pressured into taking down the interview off of Bleeding Cool. Vox was then never mentioned again. Arkhaven Comics was never mentioned again. And this was the media embargo that was put into place at that point, to where these sites basically vowed not to talk or give attention to Comicsgate, to give attention to Arkhaven, to give attention to ISOM, Rippa, whatever. All of us were embargoed, and we were blacklisted from getting any media attention. So we can make the best comics in the world, and I think I have. Overmind is one of the best comics in the world, and nobody will talk about it on that side. Just silence, and it's insidious, because it should, if they're comic book news websites, if their whole point is to talk about comics, to talk about that, they should talk about comics. They shouldn't care about somebody's political angle on this, right? Now, this is starting to change, guys. So, of course, we called out CBR. They got a bunch of egg on their face a couple weeks ago. I wrote that article in Bounding Into Comics about how they're oppressing Rippa, which is ironic because there are a bunch of white guys working there and he's black. That's another story. And that went viral, and things are starting to change, guys. So on the channel on Thursday, I actually had Erik Larsen, who is the chief financial officer and one of the co-founders of Image Comics. He is a very rabid leftist guy, and he shouldn't be talking to me, probably. He's probably not allowed to, but he did. And we had a great discussion about comic books. We didn't fight about politics or anything like that. That's still on the channel if you guys want to go find it. Just look up Erik Larsen. And it showed that, like, we're all comic professionals here. Eric July is a comic professional. I'm a comic professional. Erik Larsen is a comic professional. And we all can come together and ignore this sort of thing, which is a big crack in the culture war. So that's a big win right there, that guy would talk to me. And Eric, thank you for doing so. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate Savage Dragon and the work you've done over the years. But another thing happened, which is in regards to Vox Day. I mentioned that Bleeding Cool had that embargo to where they couldn't even talk about his book. But look at this. This is Screen Rant. Screen Rant is a big website that is, of course, in the mainstream media, talks about culture and things like that. They talk about the 9 best websites to find free comics. Now, you'll notice, and of course I'm bringing this here, Webtoon's at the top because, of course, that's the biggest one. But as you scroll down here and you get into this and you see all these comic sort of art places, there's Arkhaven. Arkhaven Comics is now mentioned in a major mainstream media outlet. They can't ignore us because we're getting too big. This is part of the stages of grief, right? They ignore, the blame, and all that. Now they can't. So they're having to accurately report that our sites exist, that our comic books exist, that we are doing something different to change the culture, and we're getting too big to fail. It's so great. This is such a big deal, guys. On the precipice of DC Comics really just making big cuts to their staff because they're pushing that social justice crap in their books harder than ever before. Nobody's buying it. We are growing. We are winning. We are ascending to new heights here. And the mainstream media is starting to catch on and go, you know what? We better cover the actual news because this is where the readers are at. And that's true. This is where the viewers are at. This is where the readers are at. And it's awesome. Awesome to see. So congratulations to Vox Day and the guys at Arkhaven for getting this Screen Rant deal. It's arkhaven.com. You can read a bunch of free comics. You can check out some of my stuff there if you guys want. And this is huge, huge news that Screen Rant would pick this up. It's almost unbelievable to me, especially without, there's not even a mention of, like, they didn't even do the whole, now this is run by a controversial right-wing creator and we don't agree with his politics. They didn't do that. They just talked about the comics. Isn't that great? I want more of this to come from the mainstream media. If you're in the media, I challenge you just to care about comics and not to care about how somebody votes. We'll change the culture together and we'll have fun together. All right. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button, my friends. Congratulations again to Rippa for hitting 500K subscribers. Thank you so much, my viewers, for watching and getting us to 8,000 subscribers. And of course, don't forget to back Overmind on my backer kit today. You'll love this comic. I promise you guys. All fun, all action, no politics. As you want. Thanks, guys.